All right, testing. Test. All right, testing. Facebook, what's happening? Facebook, what's happening? Facebook. All right, LinkedIn. Let me just check all the platforms real quick. I go live. All right. Happening now. To make sure we're good over here on LinkedIn. LinkedIn test 1 2 1 2 1 2. Check all the platforms real quick. LinkedIn, and let me repost it. Excuse me. Excuse me. As you can tell, I'm a whole lot better today. Dealing with a mild cold yesterday, and I'm back. I'm back, baby. All right, let's get it. All right, testing. All right, let's get it. Oh, it feels good to be back. You see what the topic is. Happy Win-trapreneur Wednesday. Happy Win-trapreneur Wednesday. If you don't know what that means, we'll get to that in a second. First and foremost, let me introduce myself to any newcomers, anybody that may be new to my world. My name, Aswan Crookshank, former Division I college football player and current 5-time published author and educator. And what I do, what I create, and what these 3 pencils are all about is all about taking the lessons that you learn on the football field, the teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field, and aligning them and applying them to businesses so organizations can move as just like a championship high school or youth football team. And today, so every single Wednesday, what I do, because I am the originator, the person who coined the term Win-trapreneur, what we do every Wednesday. I've been doing this every Wednesday since, can't even think of, I think honestly, since I thought of the word, which was this past summer of 2020, the past summer of 2024, according to this February 2025. And I thought of the word Win-trapreneur the past summer. I thought this last summer when I was on a coaching call. And I've been doing a Win-trapreneur tip every single Wednesday. Eventually it will turn into a book. It's going to be book number 6 at some point before 2026. So today's Win-trapreneur feature is about a teammate of mine, former teammate of mine. His name is Tyler Santucci. Played with him technically I only played with him for 1 season, but I went to Stony Brook for 2 seasons, my senior year of college, and it happened to be his senior year as a captain. And then he got his first year. It was his first year as a graduate assistant. And at Stony Brook, I was actually a scout team player. I'll explain all this as we go. But I was a scout team player. And because I was a scout team player, you work directly most of the time during practice and, meetings and stuff like that. You're working primarily with the first-time coaches, kind of getting your feet wet and stuff like that. So seeing that I was a senior actually on the scout team, it clearly meant I wasn't playing a lot on game days and stuff like that. Wasn't getting on the field on game days. I was more so there, kind of started my coaching career as it is. So it's great to see when I saw the news that he'd be the Ravens of all team, bro. The Ravens. I'm from Maryland. I've been on record saying that Ray Lewis, in my opinion, is the greatest player. Not just the greatest linebacker, but the greatest player of all time. We played linebacker, and to know that my guy, Coach Tooch is about to be the linebackers coach for the Baltimore Ravens. All the, kind of the friendly banter we would have back and forth in regards to, he grew up in Pittsburgh, grew up in Pennsylvania, so he would support the Steelers. And, I'm from Maryland, even though I'm a diehard, I primarily root for the Commanders. At that point, they were the Redskins. It was always some kind of friendly banter between Maryland and PA and all that. So we're going to dissect all of that today. Before I get there, let's get through some announcements real quick. First and foremost, West Palm Beach. Free boxing lessons. You need to be taking advantage of this. I do free boxing lessons every 2 weeks. If you're interested in doing that, just hit that QR code that you see right there on your screen. Also, business owners, particularly business owners who have 20, especially, not necessarily particularly, but especially business owners, if you have 20 or more employees and you have not gotten that free guide at freeguide.makeitmove.com yet, make sure you get that as soon as possible. And Patreon, tap into the Patreon link, patreon.com/Aswand44. We have a program, a situation, something that's set up for everybody, regardless of where you are financially. What the heck is that? Hello glare there. All right, cool. Let's get into today's topic, because I got a lot of ground to cover on this one. This is an interesting one, man, because this one's special because I played linebacker. All right. Now, I'll just give you some details and just give you kind of some backstory as to why, when I see a guy like Tyler Santucci, of all people, somebody that I personally met, played with, and then eventually got coached by, and the uniqueness in his story is that, when it comes to people in your life and, the way it works, especially if we're talking about college athletics. Yes. And I've said this so many times, some regular listeners may be tired of hearing me saying it. They're probably tired of hearing me saying it. I'll never get tired of saying it at all. But the degree that you get when you go and you compete at the collegiate level, the actual piece of paper, the degree that you actually get, I got the piece of paper, and I'll tell you right now, it's very important, but it's more so important that you make connections on the team. The connections that you make on the team are going to serve you so much further down the line, because this is real work being put in. This is actually you choosing to wake up on these mornings and go, run gassers and go lift and go work out and go eat properly, and, actively deciding to go to these meetings and watch film on your own and do some of the extra work that you're doing after practice to make sure you and your teammates are working on a cohesive level to just put your best foot forward. That's something you're choosing to do without no real back end reward. All right, especially when you're playing at a school like Stony Brook University, where there's not a lot of us that go play in the NFL after this right here. The end for the majority of us who played here at this level at Stony Brook University, the majority of us, the playing days ended after that. And Coach Tucci was no different. Tyler Santucci was no different. All right. And when I got to Stony Brook, I was on my last leg. It was like my last lap around. I feel like a runner, right? That lap. I was actually watching some indoor track. This weekend. And when it comes to football, I was on my last. I remember actually saying that I was 22 years old. Yeah, I remember saying I was 22 years old in a football locker room and being made fun of, being called old. Like, I was 22 years old is old in the football world, right? Like the coach making fun. Oh yeah, you can sign up for AARP at this point. Man, you're old, right? And it was funny, but it was very true, because again, during those years, if we're talking about a football shelf life, it's very 20. By the time you get to 22 years old, you are actually considered old in the football world, right? So those 2 years I was at Stony Brook, I was finishing up, and my mindset, even before I got to Stony Brook, was to become a coach. I wanted to actually get into coaching myself. It was the only profession that actually made sense, seeing that what the game provided for me was a level of acceptance. I was one of those that didn't take the advice that I give now, which is to make sure you're academically where you need to be, you're academically inclined, and you're focusing on your academics as a plan B, and not letting football be the thing that takes over all your academics. I was the one not taking the advice that I currently give now, right? And I let football be the thing that would drive me. I was so obsessed with it. I was so obsessed with everything because it's where I got my acceptance. I never got acceptance in the school world. I never got acceptance in school life and all that kind of stuff. You could even look through everything as I'm looking through all the thumbnails and the things that I've already put out there. You will hear when you have a conversation with me, when you talk to me, when you see the topics of my show, when you look me up, whatever it is, you're going to hear a person who was actually shaped by this sport. You are going to hear from a person that has experience after experience, story after story in regards to how this sport has shaped my worldview as an adult. And, good, bad, whatever it is you want to call it, that's just the way it is and how much I breathe it, right? So because of that, the school that I went to Good Counsel High School, it's primarily known for putting out Division I players. So you add what my ambition already was, what my goals already were, plus you add in the fact that the school I played for was a highly competitive environment. I would not have been able to let college go if I didn't play Division I football. I just wouldn't have been able to let it go. I wouldn't have been able to let it go. I'm going to say it again. I would not have been able to stop playing. I just turned 36 years old this year. And if I didn't play Division I football, you better believe my ass would be somewhere finding some Division I program to suit it up with and, just get on the field, just do something. I would have had to do it because it was something that it was a mission. Now I get that the NFL is an elite level. So as I was meeting other players and going to combines and meeting this, meeting that, the more realistic goal was to actually play Division I football and then eventually coach in the NFL. That was what I sort of dreamed up as I was going through my college years, right? And then I ran into people like this. I ran into people like Tyler Santucci. I mean, and when it came to meeting folks like him, he's the kind of person. Well, first of all, let me define for you guys what a win-trapreneur is. All right. So a win-trapreneur is very similar. A lot of people use the term intrapreneur. Again, me being the creative that I am, I just put a W at the beginning and boom, it's my word now. Win-trapreneur. All right. Because of the sports background. But it's basically an entrepreneurial minded person who's been blessed enough and fortunate enough to go and find a job that's paying them, whether it's on contract based or paying them every 2 weeks, but find an organization that they collide with that's in support of their entrepreneurial vision for their life, and that company that they're working for, that they're contracted by, there's an alignment between the two. That's pretty much what a win-trapreneur is, right? So when I was thinking about this feature and I was thinking about everything that I've seen from Tyler Santucci from a player's perspective, and the fact that he's one of my peers, he's only a year older than me, was something that the story just has to be told. Because I remember after high school, after I graduated high school, I went and played at a Division II program named Carson Newman College. All right, like I said, Division II, and there was several times, again, I tried not to talk about transferring. Yes, the goal for me was to go D1, but I felt like, hey, if I do go D2, I'm going to be starting. I'm going to be playing somewhere. And crazy enough, when I was at Carson Newman, we actually beat a Division I program. We beat the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. That was a Division I program that we actually beat, an FCS program that a Division II school beat. So I felt like, all right, look, if I start here, I can sort of just say, I bet, that's the Division I football I played, right? It didn't have to be D1 per se, but being at a D2 and then starting and balling out at a D2, all right, that would have kind of been okay. I would have been able to fulfill, I would have been able to sleep and just rest and say, okay, I did it. Let me get into coaching now, right? So what was happening at Carson Newman, and I spoke about this in the past, is the late coach Ken Sparks, who was the head coach of Carson Newman football, absolutely just an amazing human being, all about the word of God, would teach us constantly teach us how the parallels between what's in the Bible and what we go through on the football field, would constantly be reinforcing these messages. Absolutely fantastic person. However, it was a second chance school, and they would be bringing in literally anybody. They'd be bringing in players from all over the world who messed up somewhere else, and they were basically giving them an out. And for me, I never really, again, as an incoming freshman, it was me and several other freshmen that I came in with. We never really had an issue. We never really had issues that we had in the past, and the fit of the program just wasn't there. So there was a point there was like, why not? Why not go, for Stony Brook? Why not go for a Division I program? Because they were the closest program that I was going to get to out of high school, right? So what happened, and this is, I'm saying all this because this was the first time, it was actually my freshman year that I first saw Tyler Santucci. So my freshman year, I didn't get to Stony Brook until 2 years later, when he was already the captain at that point. Yeah, he was already a senior captain at that point. But it was, I want to say I was a freshman in college, which made him a sophomore. He was a sophomore already starting at Stony Brook. And I remember they had a game. The year was 2008. The year was 2008. And I was in Tennessee playing for Carson Newman. I was redshirting at Carson Newman, and Stony Brook had a game at Elon. And Elon was only about a 4-hour drive. Elon's in North Carolina. So Elon was only about a 4-hour drive from where I was in Tennessee. So myself and my boy Say, shout out to Ron Say if you listen, and I know you remember this trip, because he and we drove 4 hours. It was my beat up Chevy Prism. We drove 4 hours bumping some tunes. We drove 4 hours to go watch Elon University play Stony Brook, because I just wanted to see what was going on, and I wanted to see, because this was the first time I had the opportunity now to see if it was a place in which I can play, or a place in which I felt I can play, and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't, the coaches didn't pay for our tickets or anything. We had to pay for our own tickets and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's hungry, young, determined men. We watch the game and all that. And that was the first time I actually saw Tyler Santucci play. Coach Tooch now. I gotta get used to that. I still gotta get used to that. It was the first time I saw Coach Tooch play. And the reason not only, again, I played linebacker. So, obviously you're going to look at the linebackers and see what you feel like you can do or where you can play and all that stuff. But more so, he wore the number that I wore in high school. He wore the number I wore all throughout my youth playing days. He wore those 4s, baby. He wore that 44. And I remember looking at my boy Say, and, because that's what we used to do when we saw guys that, guys that were playing at a school that we wanted to play at. We would always look to see who's wearing our jersey number to see if we can get it when we get there, because that's what kids do and all that kind of stuff. So we saw Tucci wearing that 44, and then Say looks at me, he goes, "Bro, you're not getting that number from him. Not happening. You're gonna have to find a better number. You're gonna have to find another number. You're not gonna get 44 from him." And it's funny too, because when I did finally get there, I would joke with him and say, "Hey man, let me just get that. Let me just get the number for the pictures. Let me just do it for the pictures," and all that kind of stuff, right? So anyway, that was my initial impression of Tyler Santucci. All right, that's when I first laid eyes on him as a player. Again, he was someone that was a year older than me. And, again, the dream school at that point developed to the point in which it became Stony Brook University. All right. So after that, I tore my ACL, and this is, again, I just redshirted at a Division II school. It doesn't even, just thinking of playing Division I football doesn't even sound like, it sounds silly just to say that, right? It sounded really, really stupid just even thinking that I was going to go play Division I football after coming from a D2 school and my ACL's torn. It just seems stupid to even think about doing that. But I was blessed enough to have raised in a 2-parent household that made it so they were there to support regardless of whatever it is I was deciding to do. And I was also even more fortunate to get a job at a gym. The name of the gym was Washington Sports Club. There were several other trainers who have been living through some of the similar things I was living through. Guys trying out for the pros, guys that played in college, and they're just working as a trainer now, but they're still trying to see if they can give the NFL a shot. And being around that type of work environment made it so, especially seeing that I could use the gym for free, made me rehab my knee more and, eventually transfer to Stony Brook just off academics. And I got in off just straight merit. All right. So here we are, 2009. Win-trapreneur Wednesday, folks. Win-trapreneur Wednesday. And today's feature is Tyler Santucci. It wasn't until I got to Stony Brook in 2009, the fall, where I was like, okay, that's him. That's him. When you break into a football program, let me just give you guys some scenery here, right? When you walk, especially if it's a walk-on, because I was a walk-on. When you walk, it's true whether you're a walk-on or you're a scholarship guy. When you make that transition and you're playing college football for a brand new program, it's like a different scene. Okay, it's a different scene because you're friends with guys and you guys dap it up and all that, but you feel a new energy. You feel like, because you're looking around and you don't know everybody, right? You may know some people, but you don't know everybody. You don't know everybody that's going to be there in camp. You don't know everybody that got invited. You don't know everybody. And then you're looking around at certain guys and you're like, okay, he looked like he's been, ready for the season. He looks like he's ready to strap it up. That's what it's like. It's like, you just kind of looking at each other. You're smiling a little bit, but you're also in the back of your mind, you're ready to compete. You're ready to compete. You're ready to come mentally. You're ready to say, okay, it's go time. It's go time. It's time to play some ball, right? So I remember it was when we finally got to lunch. It was lunch because we checked in the camp. They gave us the morning to check in the camp. And then we walked over to one of those dorm rooms and they had the lunch set up, the buffet and all that kind of stuff set up. And the parents were starting to leave their babies and, was getting ready to get serious. And this is when I first saw Tucci outside, Coach Toots, Tyler Santucci. This is the first time I saw him outside of that time where I saw him play at Elon. And I remembered his face. I was like, oh yeah, you that linebacker that I saw. Because I wasn't sure, to be honest with you, I wasn't sure if he was still going to be there. I wasn't, he was a starter there. And I wasn't sure if he had graduated or maybe he would have transferred, maybe some, again, this is the business of college football. So you're never really sure if guys are going to be there until literally the day of camp and if dudes are going to show up. And, I remember seeing him, laying eyes on him for the first time in more of the casual setting, and he's looking around and he sees this young group of freshmen. So Tyler's he's getting his food and he sees this young freshman crew and he looks at it and he sort of smiles. He goes, "How you doing?" You could tell he was kind of the celebrity of Stony Brook and stuff. He goes, "How you doing? How you doing?" And then before he goes to sit down and eats, he goes, "What's up, guys? I'm Tooch." What's up, man? And I was overhearing the conversation. He was like, yo, what's up? I'm Tooch. He goes, you guys ready to play some ball? And he has this voice, and he still has it. He has this voice in which is very calm, casual voice. You would never know that he's one mean, nasty MFer when he gets on the football field. You were to have a conversation, I swear to God, and anybody that played at Stony Brook will tell you this. If you were to have a conversation with Tooch, just, again, hanging out, over lunch or talking, just talking, whatever, casually talking, you would never know that that's the same dude on the football field. Like, it turns into one nasty dude, man. A nasty ass dude on the field. So he is going and he's talking to these incoming freshmen, guys are obviously in a new situation, guys that are, kind of wet behind the ears there. You never know how they're handling this culture shock, and he's there talking to everybody. Now, myself as a walk-on, I was not an incoming freshman per se, so I didn't know the freshmen that were coming in, and because I wasn't there for the past 2 years, I didn't really have the chance to build a bond with the guys who were my age. So I was kind of in no man's land. I was there fulfilling this dream to play Division I football, and seeing that I was a linebacker and I was in his group, he and I would have conversations, so many different conversations. We talk, you would never know that, hey, I'm the walk-on that's not even eligible to get in any games versus the guy that they're depending on a great deal to win a lot of games. And it was just, conversation. And that's what leadership is all about. That's what I mean when I say creating culture. Business owners. For everything, by the way, everything we do here, we transition that into the business owners and teaching business owners how to go about running their business. He spoke to everybody. He created that culture. He created that mindset. He created a situation in which everybody on the team, and then I'm speaking, I know I'm not speaking just from my perspective. I'm speaking from everybody that was new to Stony Brook football as of 2009. If you were new, 2009 was the first time that you stepped foot on Stony Brook University's campus and were a member of the football team. 2009 was your first year. They will tell you the same thing. Coach Tucci, my guy, today's Win-trapreneur feature, spoke to everyone. He spoke to absolutely everyone and made sure that he did his part in making it so his team, the team that he loves, all right, this program that he loves, the program that really obviously taught him a lot of life skills, he made sure everyone felt welcome. He did his part. You show up, you put in your work, you work hard. It was him, Josh Arbach, and Conti Coutinho. Those were the three captains. And you could tell that those three spent a lot of the previous 4 years building up what Stony Brook has become now, which is one of the more dominant programs in the FCS. At the FCS level, they basically took Hofstra's spot. They're in the CAA and they're competing. They're doing a lot better than when we played there. So, and that's all you can ask for. So that was him, the person. Now, him, the player. All right, Coach Tooch, the player. I'm gonna get in. So basically, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tell you about my first impression of him as the person, kind of the casual friend person. But then I'm gonna talk to you about the way he approached practice. And there's two. Maybe I might end up telling more than two stories. So just stay with me on this one, because each one is gonna build on another. First of all, when you talk about being a nice guy, all right, being a nice guy is important in football. You got to be a good person, a core decency. I don't buy in to the nonsense that a lot of coaches put out there to where you got to be an asshole. We want somebody from the hood, man. We want somebody with a chip on their shoulder. We want someone that just likes to fight and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. Not to say that type of player is a bad player for your program or anything like that, but you can be a good person. You can be a good guy. I remember actually when Hofstra cut their program and Coach P was, he was addressing it to us as the players. He was saying how, look, the guys that were recruited were not, he said basically, he's not going to make the locker room half Stony Brook, half Hofstra. The guys that we're going to be going after are the guys that they were going after before. And he made sure he emphasized good guys, good people. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir type people. Shake you in your hand. Polite. Again, have a level of just a level of decency in terms of the way you go about carrying yourself and who you're all about. Good guys off the field. But when you get on the field, absolute dogs, mean MFers, angry people that get after it. That's the switch. That's the switch. All right, good people. Again, hey, good people when you're off the field. The pads go off. You're a good person. You're shaking hands. You're smiling. You're just blessed to be going to school and playing ball and all that kind of stuff. But when you get on the field, you become an asshole. All right, I've heard Coach B say that directly to several of the linemen. He goes, I have yet to see you be an asshole. I want to see an asshole on the football field. Angry people. All right. So when he got on the football field, it was a different dude. I swear to God, man, look, when you talking about, and this is what's so special. This is what's so special about the game. Okay. When you talk about the game, man, when you talk about the game, even when I was at Carson Newman, now that I'm thinking about it, even when I was at Carson Newman, you had the late Coach Sparks, who is all about church and Bible and, going to, making sure we're getting right with the word and God and all that stuff. But when he's like, look, when it comes time to play some football and you put the pads on, oh, no. We all that nice stuff goes out the window. Now we got angry people that are ready to hit somebody. Fierce, angry folks, man. Woo! Thinking about it gets me hyped, all right? So that's how we approach the practice field. I'm going to give you two. So I'm going to give you two. Like I said, two. No, three. I got to give you three. I got to give you three practices in particular. I got to give you three practices in particular with my guy, Coach Tucci, and then I'll transition to the some of the things that he helped me go through as I was transitioning out of the game, and it was time for me to hang up the cleats. All right. Story number one is when I saw he had some fight in him. Not some, but a lot of MF and fight in him when you're playing the game. Okay. When you're playing the game, you have to be willing to fight. You have got to be willing to fight. You have got to be willing to fight while you're playing the game. All right. You got to show that you have the courage to fight. Not being stupid, obviously getting penalties, unsportsmanlike conducts and all that. But at any point, you got to show that you're willing to throw down if it gets to that. You got to be able to do that. Your teammates start to rally around you. You the people, especially if you're the leader, especially if you're the person that everyone's looking at as kind of the celebrity, which is what Coach Tooch was amongst that program, right? So we were in a situation where it was still the summer, and I was still, because I was new to Stony Brook at the time, I was still getting used to the way things work and, Coach P's intensity and how intense the practices were. And it's like I said, it's summer, it's hot, we're in pads, and everybody's running around looking for an opportunity to develop, get some playing time that year. Unfortunately for me, because I transferred in, I wasn't eligible to play in any games or anything like that. But I was still just out there because I love being around the energy, man. I just love it. I love all of that stuff, right? So they had a time where, Stony Brook were on defense. It's the offense versus defense. And Tooch is obviously the starter on, he's obviously the starter in middle linebacker. He's the middle linebacker. And our other captain, Conti Catino, was the running back. And again, this is Coach P's type of offense, is a very much pound the ball. He's very much zone scheme guy that loves his running backs. He's running, like, if you're a running back when Coach P was coaching at Stony Brook, if you were a great running back, you definitely should have been looking at Stony Brook as a potential spot, because he was all about, front seven, establishing the ground game and making it so his running backs are Pearson. His running backs are going to be, the guys that the running game was going to be healthy. And the next year when I moved over to fullback, I got an opportunity to see that firsthand, right? So anyway, Conti, who's the other captain, they ran this play, and I guess something happened where Conti got hit after the play, or he felt like there was a little cheap shot at. Oh my God. It's the first time I'm actually telling this story because I remember seeing it. But anyway, Conti, after the play, he looks around, he kicks out, and he's like, "What's up?" He throws a little shove in the air and stuff like that. Like he was trying to do something after the play or whatever. So I was like, okay. Again, I'm one of the scout team guys. I'm looking like, all right. Now we about to see what's up. Now we about to see what's happening, right? So here's when I realized Coach Tucci was crazy. This is when I first recognized that this dude is different. So he sees Conti throw his little fit and say, all right, what up? And then Tooch, he smiles. He sees that and he smiles. He takes his mouthpiece out and he just smiles like, "Oh, please make my day. Make my day. Oh, make my day and throw and push me or do something. Just do something." Right? So let me tell you. So when Conti did that, and again, Tooch smiles. He goes and he just gets into his face like, "What's up? Please, make my day. Make my day. Just make my day. Just say one thing. Just look at me wrong so I can knock your little ass out." You could tell, he was one of those dudes that was like willing to throw down, right? So what happened was actually our DN, his name was Chris Perry. Chris Perry and he was easily just a head case. When Chris Perry saw that, he goes, "Hold up, dog. Nah, you ain't about to do that." So the next play, Chris Perry does some like just unnecessary cheap shot after, and he ends up getting kicked out of practice, the whole thing. And I'm telling you, I watched the whole thing from, the start when Conti pushed, when Conti kind of, gave a little shove after the play or whatever it is, he kicked his foot, did something where he shoved one of the defensive guys after. Tooch got in his face a little bit. And then after, I heard Perry say, look, I'm not playing that shit. We're not doing that here. And then after, Perry gave him like just a cheap shot and ended up getting kicked out of practice and the whole thing. So, again, when I say I'm telling you all that because it started with our leader in Tooch. He was willing to fight. He was willing to throw down. He was willing to do that. He didn't let it get so far, but just having that ability to have your especially your D line, but have your teammates in general, your defense really have your back. That's what this game is all about. When you commit to it, when you're the leader, those are the kinds of things that happen. So that's the first story. Now, the next one was really actually more on the scout team end, because by the time the season got going, I was one of the, I kind of always jokingly say, I was always one of those like main dudes on the scout team. And if you don't know what a scout team is, the scout team is the guys, if you've seen the movie Rudy, it's kind of the guys that are in practice, that are the ones responsible for getting the starters ready. And, especially that first year when I wasn't eligible to actually get in games, I was doing all the scout team stuff, all the look team stuff, special teams, offense, defense, everything. I was basically Mr. Look team and everything, right? Because even if they wanted me to play, I wasn't even eligible to play in any game. So I remember there was an intent, and again, this is Coach Pete. This is the offense, the type of offensive minded head coach. He wanted scout team guys that were going to really put in their work. He wanted scout team guys like me that were just going after it and not afraid to. Like, the reason I tell people all the time, the reason I made the travel squad the next year is because the year prior was my time to show the coaches that, hey, he's willing to, put in the work. He's not here salty. He's not here feeling sorry for himself and say, oh, just because I'm on the scout team, I'm not a part of the team. No, that was not my mentality in practice every day. So there was one of those times where it was raining. I mean, it was miserable, just a miserable day to be playing football. This is Long Island, New York. It's cold. It's windy, it's raining, all that shit. You just didn't want to play football that day. As much as you love it, just that day you hated football at that point, because it was just like, why do we do this to ourselves? This is a just crappy ass day. And at this point, everybody on the team is getting sick because the weather's changing. All sorts. It was one of those practices, basically, right? And I'll never forget it, because I remember once the scout team worked, so I was on the scout team defense and we were servicing the offensive starters. And I remember once that ended, I see Tooch, and it was time for the regular defensive starters to take the field. I see Tooch just jump up, excited, like, let's go. Like, just absolutely pumped, trying to get his guys going on days like this, days just like this. When you don't feel like going, when you're not really there, you got to be that dude that's getting the guys up when it's just gloomy days. And I remember making that transition and giving him a high five as we left. He goes, "Let's go, Crunk." That's what they call me then. They called me, my nickname, by the way, that back then was Crunk. So he goes, "Let's go, Crunk, good shit." Right? And it's days like that. And I'm telling you all this because when it comes to days where you just don't have it, when it comes to the days where you're just not feeling it, or, again, there's all sorts of exterior circumstances that aren't making it so you are excited about the work you're doing, or excited about the job, just because, again, it was a gloomy day. It's Long Island, New York. It's freezing. The wind is kicking in. The rain's coming in. Don't nobody feel like being out there playing football in that. All right. And for him to get us up during those times, that's what being a Win-trapreneur is all about. Okay, so the third one, that was number 2. And I can go for hours on this, but I'm keeping myself from going too long because I want to transition into when he started coaching the next season. But there was I think it was a bye week. Yeah, we had a bye week. It was that year when we had a bye week, and the practice schedule was obviously out of way. Yeah, I remember that bye week. Yeah, because during that bye week, as a scout team player, we were like going full with the starters. Because we didn't have a game that week, and you don't want your starting guys to lose momentum or just lose being in that game mode. So as we went through that bye week, the practice schedule was a little off. So we went hard. I believe we went hard like on a Friday or a Thursday or something like that. And then we got the rest of the week off. We got an extended period of time off because you want to create that balance, especially during a bye week. You want to create the balance where you still got your guys going hard, but you want to also give them the rest to get their bodies right, to get healthy and all that kind of stuff. So by the time we had that like really grueling practice where it was like full-fledged, going and hitting and all that kind of stuff, and then we had some time off, and I believe we were in shorts. We were in shells. So we had shoulder pads, helmets, and shorts, and it was just Coach P. All the other coaches were out recruiting. I remember there was a point in that practice. It was kind of a lighthearted practice, but there's a point in that practice where the coordinators were there. Yeah, because it was the D coordinator, O coordinator, and the head coach. So it was just 3 coaches there. Everybody else was out recruiting. And I remember there was a period during that practice where Coach Santucci was just jumping around, excited to be around, excited to be out there, excited to just, I remember he used the term, it just feels good, man. It feels good to be out here with y'all. It feels good to be out here. Okay, it feels good to be out here competing with you guys. I know I said 3 stories, so I got to give you one more because it's going to transition into game day. So there was that, and then there was a period at the beginning of that season, and this turned out to be, like I said, it's the last season. I could speak data because I used to watch them every single day for that, that season, that period. And, there was a period there was a pretend scrimmage that we were going to have against each other. And this was the first time that the Jumbotron was on, the music was playing, and there was just a switch. It was a switch that he flipped that made it so all of us were like pumped, ready to go. And that's what it's all about, man. And as I'm going to move forward to the next season. So that was basically 2009, right? That was where whatever you can see that whatever he put his mind to, he was going to be successful. And what it does is it's not just his success, but this is why I'm such a advocate for the game and for the teamwork lessons, why the whole business is built around the teamwork lessons around the game, because you got to understand this was my first time in the environment. This wasn't just my first time, but all of the incoming, whether it was an incoming transfer, whether it was an incoming freshman, again, Stony Brook's known to bring in a lot of newer guys every fall regardless of where they're coming from, whether it's junior college or whether it's a high school, whatever it is. And this was our first impression of the football team. And he was that leader that really galvanized everyone and brought everyone on the team together. And, he made coaches' jobs easy. All right. So now that season's over. All right. That season ended with us winning the Big South. We went 6-5, and we did win the Big South championship. All right. Now the next season happens, and I'm finally eligible to actually play in games. All right. I'd spent the whole year getting my ass kicked. All right. Going at it with a scout team, as a scout team linebacker. So me, pushing and shoving, just going at it, going after offensive linemen, taking on fullbacks, all that kind of stuff, just being that and sacrificing it. So what they did actually that spring, the day before the spring, is they moved me to fullback, and it gave me a better chance to actually make the travel squad, which I eventually did, and get on the field. I did actually end up seeing some game action my senior year and all that. But for the most part, throughout that year, I was basically a scout team player. But, again, seeing that what I was willing to do the year before, and then seeing that fullback, we were very low on fullback. We didn't have the fullbacks that we had, the year prior, we lost a lot of fullbacks. So there were three of us that moved from defense to offense. It was myself, Chris Fenelon, who's actually I'm going to probably do a feature on him too. He's the head strength coach at Bowling Green, and then Matt Fiella, who became like a captain. He became a captain and one of the main guys at Stony Brook. So all three of us got moved from defense to offense. And Fen and Chris were the ones. Fen and Matt were the ones that ended up playing a little longer. Fen was my age, but he was bigger and just more of a prototypical tight end fullback type of a guy, better athlete than me and all that kind of stuff. And Matt was probably the best out of all of us, seeing that he was the youngest, and the school he went to in New Jersey, believe, was a pretty good school as well. Jersey has some dogs. Jersey has some dogs. Him and his brother was on the team and all that. So it's pretty cool to think about it now, because all of us were defensive guys. And I tell kids all the time, man, look, you got to be able to play multiple positions if you really want to give your chance as a Division I football player, right? So all of this stuff was starting to happen for me, because like I was mentioning earlier, I'm getting older now. I'm getting older. I did it. I'm playing at the school, my dream school. I'm a Division I football player and all that. And now I'm in a position that I've never played. I've never actually played offense. Last time I remember playing offense was when I was a kid, like in Little League. So they moved me to offense, and I had to just, figure it out, because now I had an opportunity. I started the spring game. I had an opportunity to actually get on the field, because the position that I was playing now was more catered to my ability. Like at linebacker, the position was changing when I was during that time. The position was changing to where you got to have the ability to play in space. If they want you to guard slots, a slot receiver, you got to have the ability to do that. You also got to have the ability. You got to be big enough to really take on blocks and be able to, fill holes, and then be able to run down guys, run with running backs and all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't that type of athlete. So being a fullback now made more sense. It gave me more of an opportunity to get on the field, which ultimately what happened. Right. So anyway, like I said, that happened. And I remembered that off season because, Tooch was also the long snapper, and he was trying out for the NFL, given everything he's done as a player. He was trying to play in the NFL, and it was a long shot regardless, especially seeing that he actually got hurt during that championship game. It was going to be a long shot for him to make it to the NFL. And eventually he just became one of the graduate assistants and he started from the bottom, right? Started from the bottom, went from captain of this team, and then right there as a graduate assistant. And I remember all 2009, because I did so much scout team work. It was him, Coach Richie, Coach Hatch, and Richie, he wasn't there the other season, but in terms of those young graduate assistants in college, Mike DeReese was the football operations guy, man. So I would chat with all of them, because at this point I knew I wasn't going to be playing no NFL. So I'm like, look, y'all need to pick your brain on seeing what I got to do to get myself acclimated and get up into business, get up into business and all that. So anyway, I'll close you out with this. I'll close you out with this concept. Again, we're talking Win-trapreneur Wednesday, and my guy Tyler Santucci is the Win-trapreneur feature for this week, right? So it was my last season of playing football, and again, playing my position's fullback, but I'm also the scout team linebacker throughout the week, because that's just the way it works at the FCS level. At least when I played there, you didn't have the depth to say, okay, that's somebody who can play on game day, so he's not going to do no scout team work. No, I was that guy that could, get into the game, but also his ass is going to be playing scout team linebacker too, right? That's actually was my role throughout my practice throughout the week, right? So we were playing UMass, and this was before UMass became D1, the University of Massachusetts, I believe, Minutemen, I believe that's the name of them. A big time program, absolutely big time program in the FCS world. The year before we played them in UMass, and they got all up in our ass. And I remember actually the week, the speech Tooch gave that week. He was like, look, we'll get embarrassed if we don't show up to UMass and play our best and then give our best shot and all that. So anyway, the next year, UMass came to Stony Brook, and it was like, look, we ain't lost a game at Stony Brook in a couple of years now. We don't plan on losing to no damn University of Massachusetts, all right? So that week going into practice, as being a scout team guy, they had the scout team guys like all meet together. And instead of like going to our individual meetings, we had all the guys that were going to be doing scout team that week. We were kind of in our own meeting rooms watching film as if it was like a separate team, as if it was like a separate game, because that's how serious this particular game was, right? And there, Tooch, because at this point he's the graduate assistant, he's coaching now, he's with us and he's coaching us up and he's letting us know, hey, we need your best effort this week. We need your best effort this week because of who we're playing. And he gave a speech. He gave a speech during that I've carried with me every single day of my life since then. It's over 15 years ago now since that happened. And I carry this speech so strongly in my heart and my mind because of the scenery. You had the guy who was just a player, like a sort of a town star, like a hero, a famous face in the Stony Brook world, who was now working this job, per se, this graduate assistant job. That's not glamorous. You don't get a lot of money doing it, right? That's not a glamorous job. And you have these, young scout team players like I was a part of that. In many ways, we can easily feel like we're not part of the team because we're not starting. And you had us in kind of a very secluded setting. And even in a moment like that, he was able to fire us up. He gave a great speech because he was talking about how, what he wanted or what we can do to help us win the game. And as we're watching starters and we're watching the guys that are playing, he goes, look, these guys are not better men than you. That doesn't make them a better man. And he goes, look, they may have some years, they may have some, time in the playbook or been in the program for a couple of years, but they're not better men. You guys go out there, you compete, you put something on film, you do something that makes it so you guys are going to be proud of what you've done. And because of the setting, because of it wasn't like a big deal to the outside world, just because of how secluded the setting was, it has carried with me through every single day, regardless of how many views I see, regardless of how many likes I get, regardless of whatever it is. Those moments, man, those moments are what's going to be able to carry you through. So, that's all I got for today, man. It's great thinking about it. I'm so happy for Coach Tucci, man. So happy to see what the Ravens do. I know the linebackers are going to be great. They've always been great to have, again, the history of what the Baltimore Ravens are on defense. So it's such a great thing to see one of your guys, one of your boys doing some major things. So all that being said, the main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, it's makeyamove.com. That's MAKEYAMOVE.com. Also tap in with me, the Patreon link, tap in with me. I'm looking for it right now to put it up. The patreon.com/Alice144. We're gonna, get an exclusive business community, together so we can hold each other accountable for everything. Everyone out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.